Hello, it's Spiritual Man back at you. My name is Batzalel, it means in the shadow of God. And I would like to learn in Masechet Shabbat a certain hermeneutic teaching, very essential, one of the principles of the Torah. This is Masechet Shabbat on Daf Lamed Aleph for you Gemara masters. And for regular folks, it's on page 61 in the tractate of the Sabbath. Reish Lakish, one of the great Talmudic masters, he said, what did Yeshayahu, the prophet, Isaiah, mean when he said, Vaya emunatitecha chosin Yeshuos chochmas v'das yiras Adonai hiotzoro. And it shall be for you the stability of the times, the strength of salvations, wisdom and consciousness, and the fear of God is his treasure house, his storehouse. What does one thing have to do with the other? What are we talking about? Reish Lakish teaches us that each of the 6 words, stability, times, strength, salvation, wisdom, and knowledge and consciousness are both the word dat. There's 6 words, 6 orders of the Mishna, the oral law, which was given together with the written law from Moshe to Moshe and passed on every generation. The written law are all the prophets up to Malachi. After Malachi there are no more prophets. Then there are sages. A sage is preferable to a prophet. And as we will see, Rashi says, das is preferable to wisdom. The sages cannot be understood without dat. So how are these words hinted at? Let's take a look. Emunat, someone needs faith. He can't plant unless he has faith. The Tosfos teaches us, the great commentaries on the Gemara from France and 800 years ago taught us that you believe in the life of all of the worlds, the one and only God who gives life to all the world, and you plant. Because if you didn't believe, all we can do is we can plant. And if it doesn't grow, it's from God. So we have to believe that God will help us. So belief, when the person I say, emunati techa, it doesn't just mean belief, it means strength. Our strength is our belief. Yitecha has to do with times. That obviously has to do with the second tractate in the Gemara, Moed, about the times of the year, the laws of the Sabbath, every week, the 7th day. Cessation from work, all of the details of the law. And the laws of the festivals. These are all your times, obviously. Second, your times has to do with the second tractate, dealing with the times of the year. The festivals, the Sabbath. Chosin Yeshuot. So Chosin has to do with the order of women, Nashim. All the laws of marriage and the law of, God forbid, divorce. In order to do these properly, we need to know the laws in the third tractate of women. What does that have to do with strength? Woman is strong. Yes, everybody knows that. Women are stronger than men. They have greater endurance than men. But what is the strength that they're talking about? Chosin Yeshuot. The strength of salvations. This chosin means strength, and it shares the same root in Hebrew with the word yichus, meaning familial relations, ancestry. Yud chet samach in the Hebrew letters. It's the same root for strength and the same root for ancestry. So from generation to generation, passing down the laws and the tradition and the ethical tradition, going back to Mount Sinai. That is our strength. And this is obviously has to do with marriages and families, the laws of women. That's the third. The fourth tractate is Nizikim. So what does Yeshuot have to do with Nizikim? It's very simple. If you learn the laws of property damages, and Nizikin means damages. Nizikin is damages, property damages, partnerships, monetary judgments, all kinds of the laws of transactions and acquisitions. If you know the laws, you will be saved from destruction, financial destruction, and saved from having to go to court if you know and follow these laws. And knowledge is power, and knowledge is protection. So I think it's salvation. Salvation is true help. True help, God gave us a Torah. We follow the Torah, and we will be able to get along in society, in the financial world, in the world of buying and selling. And we should not know from damages. But it requires a little bit of knowledge and faithfully following these laws. Chochmat v'dat. Chochmat has to do with the laws of sacrifices, and das has to do with the laws of sacrifices in the Mishnah is called kodshim, the fifth order of the Mishnah. All of the temple sacrifices. This was the special wisdom that we needed in order to properly serve God in the temple. Rashi does not explain. The last order is the laws of purity, which were mostly not in effect these days. It was in effect in the time of the temple, and soon in our days when the temple is rebuilt, when all of Israel makes tshuva, and even if we don't, it should come soon in our days. God is a merciful God, but He exacts His due. He has patience, but His patience can run out. So, that is when we finally get it together, we'll have a temple, and the laws of purity will be in effect. What are the laws of purity? Some vessels can be pure, and vessels can be impure, and there's a way to purify them. The ashes of the red heifer, technically we know that it can come back. We can make a red heifer, and the rabbis have solutions. And when the time comes, we will have the laws of purity back in effect. And I hope I do something to help bring it about a little sooner, and I hope you do too. But Rashi says something very interesting here. It says, Chochmat v'dat, wisdom and consciousness. Dat has to do with the laws of purity. It says here, it makes a very general statement. Dat is preferable to Chochmah. Knowledge, consciousness, is preferable to wisdom. Wisdom could be used for evil. Not so dat. If somebody has dat, consciousness, his wisdom will be used for good and used to bring light to the world and understanding and growth to the world. But all of these are worth nothing if there's not Yirat Hashem. That's the end of the verse. The fear of God. The fear that God is the king and He gives me everything and everything is in His hands. And yes, He's patient. And yes, a person could live their whole life and disregard God's law. But God will exact. Anybody who said God is forgoing, let his bowels forgo him. God may be patient, but He always exacts His due. If I know this, I will be very careful about not transgressing His word. And His word is very clear in the Torah, both the oral tradition, which turned into the halakha that we follow today, and the written tradition from Mount Sinai. That's the treasure house. If any of these laws are done without the fear of God, what are they worth? And we will continue in a few moments with the continuation of this Midrash, with the help of God, and bli neder, without making any promises. But we're going to get back to it. We're all coming back. Shalom Yerushalayim.